Ladies and gentlemen, we got a business guru from across the pond. We're going to be hanging out with Nancy Steidl, who's going to be helping us to learn a little bit more about business than we already know. And she's going to be talking about AI. She's going to be talking about her new book that's coming up. She's going to be talking about her thousands of degrees she has. Kidding, only kind of kidding. Anyway, my name is Kenner French, and I'm with vastsolutionsgroup.com. You're now hearing the Vast voice. Nancy, thanks for being here.
Thank you very, very much, Kenneth, for having me on your show. Yeah, I'm actually born and bred in Canada, but I'm residing in the UK now for the past 25 years. So I appreciate the compliment of guru, but I'm an international business consultant and an intellectual property law specialist. I have my own business consultancy firm, which is the Business Mission. And as you said, I've got a book coming out, which is coming out at the end of this year, December 2024. I haven't done 1 billion degrees, mentioned.
Almost.
Sorry?
It seems like it.
Oh, well, I have done 3 masters. I'm on my last one, so my 3rd one. But I do really, enjoy learning and taking education further. So I mentioned I do have a master's in business law, MBA, and now I'm doing an international intellectual property law degree as well.
Yeah, you've done a lot of stuff. There's no doubt. So let's just jump right to it. What can you do? Let's say I'm an entrepreneur in the United States. Let's say I'm in New York, and I'm just starting my business. Let's say I'm a real estate agent. What can you do for me? I'll just jump to it.
Yeah, so it's fantastic. I think more people should set up businesses anywhere in the world. I think we are in an era where you can, travel and set up business, but you really need to understand the logistics of any country that you set up a business in. Do recall, though, that you must start with a business plan. I really, really emphasize that because an idea is one thing, but you've got to convert that into some sort of plan. I think some people think when they've got a business idea, well, this is the business, which is not the case. But a business needs to prove, the business model, a sale or revenue before it's classified as the business. So the first thing you want to do is once you've done the business plan, you've turned the idea into the plan, is the business structure. So just choosing the correct legal structure for your business, such as maybe a sole proprietorship, as you would call it in the US. In the UK, we call it sole trader. Maybe it's a limited company, an LLC, or a corporation. So really understanding the legal and the tax implications that are, associated with each structure. There's also the business registration and the licensing, which you need to take into account as well. One of my favorite subjects, as you know, is intellectual property. So it's the intellectual property protection. Whether you are going to use a trademark or you come up with an idea that needs patent. I know copyright, for example, in the US, you can register it. In the UK, we don't have that facility. But, with copyright, whenever you write something and you design something, the creative expression, and you put it on a piece of property, which is intellectual, which is the creative expression that goes onto the property, then you own that. Don't forget your contracts and agreements when you start a business as well. That's very important to put those in place. And maybe even the employment law, okay? Maybe you're employing people or freelancers. You need to understand the employment law and the regulations that govern the wages, the benefits in those certain countries as well.
Yeah, everything you've mentioned, that's spot on as far as I'm concerned. You got to, 1, have a business plan so you know what you're doing. 2, you have to have the logistics taken care of, the finances, the wherewithal, that maybe even hire an attorney to help out with the contracts, registration. That all totally makes sense. A lot of people forget that. Oh, they just think, I'm going to hang a shingle out there. It totally makes sense to do that stuff, because if you're going to start a business, you're hoping it's going to grow. And if it's going to grow without a good foundation, it might not grow in the right way.
Absolutely. I always give the analogy of starting business like a kid. So, if you decide you're going to have a child, you've got to spend that sort of 9 months in the pregnancy stage, making sure it gets the structure. And when it comes out, you want to give it a birth certificate. So that's the trademark. And you've got to understand that a child cannot immediately go and get a job. So it cannot make money for you right away. So you need to give that time to grow and put that structure in. So in theory, is that if you have given the time to the child, then maybe in year 3 it will stand and it'll start making money. Of course, there are those prodigies out there that do make, the child makes money a little bit earlier, or the business makes money earlier, but on average, a good structure time with all the legal aspects and all the IP employed into the idea, into the business, gives you a fair chance with the business.
Yep. Yeah, totally makes sense. Totally makes sense. So, I remember talking to one of my buddies who's an IP attorney. I said, what's the big deal? Why would I want to, I was kidding with him. Why would I want to be an IP attorney, right? How much can you help me? And he laughed. He said, well, if you don't have your name, what do you have as a company? And it totally makes sense in the whole scheme of things, because there's a reason Nike spends as much money as they do on advertising. Same thing with Apple, it totally makes sense. So your jobs, I know it's really, really important.
Yes, IP is a very big asset. I think a lot of people also, when they start a business, they don't look at the exit strategy right away. Exit strategy, I can give you an analogy, is a bit like building a house and understanding where your exits are going to be if something happens to that house. So all these little aspects, which I've mentioned, like business plan and IP, they start to accumulate assets in your business, so that when you decide to exit your business, the business value goes up. And like you said about Nike, even Nike, they actually hold their trademark in a separate company because of the value of it.
Are you an advocate of that, having a separate entity as a holding?
There's no right or wrong to it, I think. If you are really, really big, I know IKEA does it as well, so they set it up in a company. So it's really whatever you prefer, what's right for your business.
I think it depends on because we have some international clients. Sometimes we do suggest them to have their, a separate entity hold their IP. It totally depends on the circumstance, because we have some clients who have a lot of IP. You know what I mean? It totally depends on the circumstance, but sometimes we're an advocate of that.
Yeah.
So wait a minute. So then when you get involved, early on when the client's just getting set up, basically, correct?
Yes. So there's 2 avenues here. I either help them like in that pregnancy stage, so they've got an idea and they don't know where to start, because I think you can be the greatest chef in the world, but if you don't know how to set up a business, then you're a bit stuck. The idea collapses. I do recall I had 2 clients, which were great accountants, who wanted to set up a nightclub, and this nightclub collapsed after 9 months because they had no idea about marketing or anything like that. They did the figures, but yeah. So there are 2 sort of sections to setting a business. Like I said, you can have the idea, but then you need to understand how to structure it. If you want to go build a house, you go to an architect, and the architect will help you with the with the blueprint, and then you will have a better success at that business.
Yep, I totally get it. So I know you have an interest in AI. So let me ask a couple of questions about that. Tell me about AI as it relates to intellectual property, because I know that's kind of a thing right now. I mean, because I think a lot of our clients are kind of looking into AI. They don't know enough about it, maybe. But how does the IP impact AI?
Yes. So intellectual property laws can vary significantly through so many jurisdictions. Okay. So it's really an interesting interesting era we're in at the moment. A place like the metaverse or the multi-metaverse, there's no jurisdictions, and that's very AI driven. So with how you can protect your AI innovations, first of all, is like one intellectual property is patents. So patent law really differs in terms of what is considered patentable subject, and also businesses should conduct a prior art search, and that's a big thing, because with AI, so much can be generated these days. You really need to consider finding the different AI patents that are out there, and then consider filling in a patent to cover all these different jurisdictions. So when I say jurisdictions, it's different countries. So Canada, UK, US, all have different patent laws. The other thing is, like, if you patent it in the UK, you cannot assume that you're going to have it in the US. There's also copyright. Again, we are in a very interesting stage with copyright. ChatGPT is one of the things that holds a lot of content from different areas on the internet. And then you think, well, I've created that, when you haven't really. But so you really have to be careful with the copyright, with AI algorithms. And while copyright protection is generally automatically given upon creation, you have to make sure that you are giving something authentic with your copyright. Then there's also trademarks. It's very easy with AI to create trademarks. Right now, the laws with IP are that a robot and an animal cannot own their own IP creation. So it's really interesting time again, because if a robot creates something, who owns that IP? Well, the inventor does not own it because the AI created it. So we are still challenged with a lot of laws with the AI capacity. There's also trade secrets. That is another IP sector or field. So trade secrets protect confidentiality, including AI algorithms and data senses and business process. So make sure that in any of your contracts, you are adding that non-disclosure agreement to protect, your AI or trade secrets that you are creating. Don't forget the data protection, also the privacy that you are collecting from AI systems. There are regulations like the GDPR in the EU, and I think the CCPA, which is as well. So it's just protect all those AI innovations globally.
Yeah, it is. It's crazy. It's like the Wild Wild West, and I knew that. We started, as I mentioned to you offline. We started AI years ago, and I knew it was going to be a big thing. I don't know if I knew that a single entity, OpenAI, was going to blow up like it has in a good way, but we knew it was going to be a big thing. And I think that a lot of people are kind of afraid of AI, and I think they have to envelop it. If they don't, they're going to be left behind.
Exactly. Yes.
So wait a minute. So I could buy your book for whatever, $15.99 or whatever it is, or you could give me the 3 takeaways from your book. Just kidding. I know you want people to buy your book. By the way, I want you to tell us the title of it, etc. But what are 3 takeaways I would get from reading your book that could advantage me and benefit me as a business owner?
Well, my quote is, business is very easy. It's us who complicate it with over complexities and overthinking. So the book is a really easy read. And also I use a lot of analogies. Like I just, gave you an analogy about the house and the architect. Because I think a lot of books out there when you start business are quite technical. So this is a really, really easy read. And it's a light bulb moment read as well. So I think when you read it, go, oh my God, I get it. So I think those are the 3 things. I like to keep it really simplistic. You need to get the book and read it, and then you get what I mean. It's just full with information. There's 32 chapters, and each chapter gives you good analogy to make you understand how to start a business, and even existing business owners, who are in year 3 and 4 and are really challenged because they missed the structure part of the business.
Oh, look at you. And what's the name of it, and where do I get it?
Yes. So it's called The Art of Analogies in Business, How to Start a Business Using Layman's Terms. At the moment, it's in the pre-order. So you can pre-order the book on our website, www.thebusinessmission.com, and the full book will come out in December.
Very nice. So the pre-order, there's not a pre-order copy, I assume?
So you can pre-order it right now, and then it will be released in December.
Gotcha. That's what I was looking for. And again, what's that website?
www.thebusinessmission.com.
Perfect. I'll check that on my phone, which you won't do because you don't use a cell phone.
Yay!
Yeah, let's talk about that.
Like I said to you before, I think they will be updated soon. So I reckon my prediction is sort of like 32 will all be visiting people with holograms.
But still, ladies and gentlemen, this is a little off topic, but I actually have met someone who doesn't have a phone, and it's Nancy. Why don't you mention a little bit as to what your deal is with that? Because I think that's a pretty interesting element to you.
Well, I feel like, first of all, there's lots of radiation to it. So, you try to, minimize. But also, I think it's a very disconnection to society because everybody's on their phone. When I do witness people on, if I go on a train, they're all just sort of like that. It's very interesting because I do feel that it's slipped in stronger during COVID. So, people sort of lost connections with the humans, but connected to their technology. So, yeah, there are pros and cons to it, but I just feel a little bit less, more liberated without being attached to something.
I do get it, but it's fun ripping on you about that. Trust me. I don't know what I would do without my phone, but then again, when I don't have my phone, like just with my family, I do feel disconnected in a good way. So I understand your point. I really do understand your point.
Yes.
I want to pick your brain a little bit more. Let's say we have about, 10, 15 minutes if it's okay, because you're a very interesting sort. So can I deal with you? Let's say I live in Canada. Let's say I live in the US. Let's say I live in England. Can I use you as a consultant in any of those jurisdictions?
Yes. I mean, that's the wonderful thing about sort of connecting people by Zoom or, by Google Meet or Skype or anywhere. So yeah, definitely you can touch base with me and, we can have a talk about your business. I have lots of clients worldwide. So everywhere inside, I've got Serbia, Iran, Kuwait, Argentina, the UK, the US, a lot of people in the US. So yes, you can contact me from wherever you are in the world.
I understand. So you're okay, because you have that AI, I'm going to ask this. Are you also a business consultant with on the exit side, if I'm trying to sell my business, like where along the business spectrum are you? Because obviously you're at the upfront portion, the implementation of a new business, but where are you along that spectrum all the way to exit?
Yes. So I would say I'm the structurist of everything. So not everything, but anything with business. So if you were to exit, I could help you structure your business for that exit. I'm not a salesperson. I wouldn't go and sell it or try to sell your business out, but just everything in the structure part or the planning part of anything to do with a starting business, existing business, or even exit business, I can help you with that.
All right. What are some structures, let's say in the United States, and I know it really matters based on the situations and circumstances, but what's a kind of a business structure in general that might work for, let's say I'm a real estate agent. I'm making, I was 1099 or I was sole prop or as you call it, sole something in England.
Sole trader.
What? Sole trader. And let's just say I'm making $100,000. What's a structure that you think, generally speaking, might make sense for me?
Well, again, it's all to do with assets. A really good analogy is like you've got two cars and one car has just a plain car, but then over the years, the other car you added like a surround sound, a TV in the back, plush seats. So this car has more value. So, if you are a real estate agent and you're profiting 100,000. It really is not just that surface value. It's what other assets you have in the business. Have you secured your IP? Have you done a patent for something? Have you, copyright? What is your trademark? So all those aspects. It's like when you decide to buy a house, you'll do your due diligence with the, with your lawyers in a seller's pack. So there will the lease. There'll be the land registry. There'll be all these things that will accumulate the value to your exit.
I understand. I totally get that. So then what's, let's just say, what's a typical engagement for you or for people like you in the industry? Do you guys work on a monthly basis, annual basis? I truly have no clue in your circumstance.
Yes, well, it really is dependable. I have sort of bespoke options. So if it was just sort of a project, one project, then I can help you with that project. If you did need monthly support, I could help you. I've got a client who I do some trademarks with, and I'm with them for about 2-3 years because they have doing a vast amount of trademarks.
I like that. Vast. Nice work. Yeah.
Yeah.
Vast.
So maybe they're going to India, to China, to Japan, to Australia. So I'm monitoring those. So it couldn't just be like, well, listen, do a one-off. It doesn't work that way. So like the US trademarks take really long time at the moment. I'm sitting with one client, and we put this in December 2020, and it's still sitting there. It's not, yes, it takes a very long time with the US because they are very backlogged. The last time I spoke to somebody who was the person that's dealing, she said, "Oh, we're hiring some paralegals at the moment." But yeah, the UK is very quickly. I think it's about 6 months. India takes about 3 years because they are very behind. But yeah, so in cases where I'm doing lots of trademarks for a client, it's not like I can only stay with you a month. I've got to monitor it over those years, and so I work on project base.
I think I know.
Sorry, if it's just like a contract or a business plan or something like that, then that's just a one-off sort of thing.
I understand. By the way, you brought up a good point. It does. I know it's taken a long time in the U.S., but I didn't know it was that long. But what I would say is, I believe you could still basically use the trademark in the meantime. So there's some history. At least you have some history as the application goes through the system. So as an example, like on a website, you can use the tiny TM that we use in the United States, at least establish that some type of trademark effort was initiated on said date.
Absolutely, yeah. So you can use the TM on either the figurative, if that's what you've done, or the words, while it's sitting there. The only thing I would say about that is a little bit of a risk, because if there is an opposition that appears, in the meantime, and you show the TM, that might have a little bit complex. But yes, you are correct. But in trademarking, you would want to trademark the name first and secure the name, and then trademark the figurative.
Yeah, I understand. That totally makes sense. And it's important. There's this guy, Dan Sullivan, who runs a group called the Strategic Coach, actually a little bit out of LA, but also out of Canada. And his big thing is you got to show a unique ability. And how do you do that? Well, it's by coming up with a kind of a cool marketing name that represents what you're doing. If you have a TM on there, it establishes you as a true business owner, and you're trying to do something that's innovative and something that's going forward in a way that it's unique in the marketplace. And who knows, maybe it'll get you, bring you in business. So meaning that little TM or SM, whatever the case is, I think it does help. He taught me that. I think it makes a lot of sense.
Oh, absolutely. It just brings more professionalism, and you are very serious about what you're doing. I always say to clients, the first thing after the business plan is trademark. Totally. There's been so many cases that I've dealt with that, they didn't trademark. And, there was a really good article, actually, it was years ago, of this chap who opened a landscaping, from his backyard in the UK. And his first name was, his last name of his first name was Bridge, and his first name was Stone. And then they set up this little company in Bridgestone, which has a protected trademark, found out about them because these large corporations have huge IP departments. That's all they do. They spend all their time, and so they've sent them a cease and desist letter saying you need to rip that down because we don't want to be associated with you, because that's what trademark is. It is really it's about protecting your brand. It's about creating a creditable brand, and it really is really disturbing if you've done, if you've been in business for 10 or 20 years, you haven't trademarked, and then all of a sudden somebody who has trademark finds you, you're gonna have to rip down everything, and you're gonna lose your audience because the trust is gone. You're not even gonna be able to tell them. You're gonna be fined. They can take a percentage of your profit, and boy, is it hefty. So the first thing you must do always is trademark, or if you have a patent, do the patent.
Yeah, and that sucks. I know a couple people, 2 different people, where that's occurred to them, where they've lost the battle, the little TM battle, if you will, the IP battle, and strip everything and then start anew. It's tough. It really is tough.
Yes, and especially if you're fighting against a really big organization. Again, I had a client who came to me after the fact had happened with this cease and desist letter from Walt Disney. So he had an event company in the UK for 15 years. Unfortunately, I'm on an NDA, so I can't disclose it, but it was a name that was similar to a Walt Disney character. And Walt Disney found him, and, I just said to him, you have to have big bucks to fight these guys because they are so protective of their trademark. So in the end, he actually had to shut down the business.
Oh, no, he had to shut down the whole business? Oh,
yeah, he had to shut it down. He did open another company with a brand new name, but, he lost all those followers and all his audience, and he just had to start from scratch again, which was very hard. But, and in turn, additional to that, you've got to rip down all your advertising and marketing wherever you think that this is, because, they are fiercely loyal with their trademarks and with their IP assets.
Yep. Sorry to hear that about your client. So then what, as far as, so I'm just to double check. So if, let's say I'm a U.S. citizen, U.S. business owner, I want to do business in the UK, Germany, etc., you can also help. So on the other side, you can help as well.
Absolutely, yeah. And I actually have a lot of clients who come on the innovative visa, which we have in the UK. So they want to set up a business in the UK, and the government offers the innovative visa route, which helps. But they do have to prove that their business model can make sales in the UK. So I help them with the business plan. I help them with the trademark in the UK. I help them with potential clients, and then it overlaps a little bit with immigration. So I do also direct them to an immigration lawyer who I have in the UK, because then they need to submit the application to the government, and it's sort of a two-level thing here. While it is business orientated, they also have to come in with the immigration side as well.
I understand. So we have a new employee who's starting out, who's going to be kind of doing AI implementation for other people, meaning clients, because we for the most part have our AI kind of all put together. Our model's called Einstein, which we've had for years. We're kind of rejiggering it here. But anyway, he's going to be working with clients to kind of automate using AI, whatever it is, onboarding, marketing, or whatever the case is. Now, I'm going to assume you do work with people like that, correct?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, because the reason I say that is because of AI and who knows, maybe in our example, I'm just giving an example for us. We might come out with a kind of a new system, and we might need some trademarks, et cetera. So in some circumstance like that, you would do something.
Absolutely. And, if you are getting an employee to do anything AI related or anything to do with creating code or thing, it's really important in your contracts that you make it very clear that you own that. Although they are the creator, you must transfer the IP rights to you. I say that to every client that decides to get a trademark done. You need to have a very tight contract when you are working with that graphic designer, that they sell or they, relinquish their rights to that trademark design to you. And that's the same with anybody that is working with you on designing AI or data or code or anything like that. Because if you don't do that, a really good example with trademark is if a designer designs your trademark, but he doesn't relinquish the IP, and then you go to trademark office to trademark it, the designer says, no, hold on, I own that.
Yeah,
and so
that's a good point.
For a whole trademark application.
That's a really good point. You never know, especially if you have a contractor who's doing the work. An employee is a little less of a risk, but if you're having a contractor who does it, there's risk there, because they could say, I own that. Yes,
but I mean, even employee, if they go off and they take your ideas and they set up your own business, that is a big risk as well. So I wouldn't say there's a level. There's just secure yourself with your contracts, specifically stating in a clause of IP that the IP is ownership of the company, that they can't take it with them when they go, or if you're working with a freelancer, that they are relinquishing all IP work that they have created to the company.
And the reason I said there's a little bit less risk, because in our agreements with our employees and contractors, we say that even if they're working on an IP project or an R&D oriented project, something that's kind of pushing the envelope as far as research, it's ours. So yeah, I get your point. Well, I'm glad you brought that up. That's very good for some of our listeners and viewers out there. That's a huge component. That shows you how far reaching IP goes. as an entrepreneur. You really got to make sure, your T's are crossed, your I's are dotted. It really is true, because all we have is our name. Just like I said, I was talking to my buddy years ago, an attorney, right?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. It's better to overdress a contract than to underdress it. So it's better to be more safe and oversafe than undersafe.
Yep, I totally get it. So what's some as we kind of come close to closing this out, so what's one thing we have not talked about that people should know about the as far as business goes, as far as an entrepreneur goes, and just think of anything off your noodle?
Yes. Well, I mean, I guess on a global aspect, because, this, I feel like this podcast is quite global. You're in the US and I'm in the UK. So, if you are deciding to set up a business anywhere, really, as an entrepreneur, it's really important to understand the behaviors of those markets. When I did economics in one of my one of my degrees, there was a really interesting case about how McDonald's tried to set up in the UK and really struggled at the beginning, because in the US and myself being Canada, we're really friendly, and you go in and it's like, hey, how are you? But it's not like that in the UK. So that sort of behavior really sort of put off a lot of customers in the UK when they went into McDonald's. So I think really understanding the behaviors of where you're going to set up a business in a country is really important. The local laws are really important, and also the IP infringement. So make sure that you are going to country and you can trademark or do patents in that country as well. So I think overall, the cultural aspect, the language aspects are really important when you start a business, the data protection, understanding all the laws, and just really overall understanding the aspect of wherever you do a business. And as I go back again, really important is do a business plan, map it out before you start any business idea.
I understand. Okay, actually, another idea just came to my head. What's one thing that's gone wrong in your business, your specific business, that you wish, now looking back, you would have changed?
Oh, well, I don't change anything.
Ooh, nice. No regrets. I like it.
I really enjoyed my journey. I don't see the word, lots of people like to use the word failure, and I like to use the word redirection. So it's never a rejection, it's a redirection. So if something didn't work, it was sort of like that path told you, like, that's not going to work, go on to another path. So everything that happened in my business has led me, on my business path, and all the businesses that I've set up and whatever I've done has led me to be stronger to where I am. So I'm very grateful. I see everything. There's a saying, like, there's never a problem, there's only a solution. There's never a challenge, there's only opportunities. So every single challenge you see, you've got to look for the opportunity, because that's exactly what is growing you and your business.
Ooh, nice. I like that. No regrets. You like what's going on. Obviously, you're successful. It's worked out for you. There's no doubt about that. That's a good answer. Good story.
Yeah, no, never have regrets.
I like it. I like it. It's time for us to close up shop. So how does someone get a hold of Nancy?
Yes, so I am available on many different platforms. You can find me on LinkedIn. You can find me on Facebook. I have a business page on LinkedIn. I've got a business page on Facebook. And I've got a profile, and I've got a profile on LinkedIn as well. So if you search my name, you will definitely find me. I write in a couple magazines as well, and some newspapers. So if you just put my name into Google, you definitely will find me.
Yep, you're a popular lady, I know. And that being said, I really do appreciate your time. Hopefully this has been fun for you. It's been fun for me learning about your story, because I know it's a cool one. It's a cool one for our viewers and listeners to see and hear. You know what I mean?
Thank you so much. And thank you for having me on your podcast. I think it's brilliant. What I love about these podcasts is there's just so much educational information, and so when you share it with your audience, when I share it with our audience, there are these people out there that go, well, I didn't know that, and now I know more. Totally. I'm glad you said that. Thank you very much. You're very welcome. So, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen,
Kenner French with VastSolutionsGroup.com. Again, you've been listening to The Vast Voice. We're telling business secrets to entrepreneurs. It's been a pleasure. Nancy, thanks again.
Thank you.